Hello and welcome to the channel. Creative Labs and the Sound Blaster name are about as old as PC gaming itself, and for many years, just about anyone that cared about their audio at all had a Sound Blaster card. With the rise of improved motherboard audio, many people are skipping a dedicated sound card. Over the last year, Creative has renewed their efforts to change that though, and released a pair of gaming-focused sound cards. First, they released the internal AE-5, which looks great and has some nice RGB lighting that should look good in just about any build. And then this last October they released the external G6, which is a follow-up to the G5 card. For this video I'll be reviewing the G6 as its basic specs are close to the AE-5 with some extra features and console compatibility. I tested the G6 with 4 wired headsets that I had on hand, these being the Sennheiser GameOne, the SteelSeries Arctis Pro, the SteelSeries Arctis 3, and this is the old version. And I used the LucidSound LS35X and a wired configuration. The G6 comes well packaged and includes the sound card, USB cable, optical cable, and documentation. The body of the unit is made of plastic, but looks nice and has a fair amount of controls at your fingertip. The top of the body has an RGB Sound BlasterX logo. On the front is the volume wheel, which controls both master volume as well as microphone side tone, and also serves as the mute button. The volume wheel is flanked by the headset and microphone inputs. On one side is a button to activate scout mode, which I'll talk about later, a button for SBX, which is Creative's virtual surround and audio enhancement engine, and a toggle for low or high gain headphones. The low setting is for headphones with an impedance of under 150 ohms, and the high setting is good for headphones up to 600 ohms. On the back of the unit is the micro USB charging port and optical in and out. The bottom of the unit is covered in rubber to prevent slippage. The tech specifications of the G6 are pretty impressive on paper. It boasts 130 decibel dynamic range and comes with the Cirrus Logic 4313 DAC. It has 7.1 virtual surround sound with up to 32-bit 44.1 kHz sampling or up to 32-bit 384 kHz sampling in direct mode. The G6 features Creative's X amp, which independently drives the left and right channels. There's a slew of other techie stuff on Creative's website if you're interested, but the short version is this thing packs some really nice specs and can deliver a lot of power. From a raw power perspective, the G6 has been the most impressive gaming DAC amp combo that I've used. But do all of these specs translate into good sound? Well yeah, it sounds great. In Assassin's Creed Odyssey, the crashing waves and the singing crew of my ship roared to life. Arrows flying past me and hitting stone walls behind me had great positional detection and clear and nuanced detail. In Kingdom Come Deliverance, the clashing of steel on steel and the twangy thud of bowstrings resonated in the hills of Bohemia. Outside of combat, the grass blowing in the breeze, the insects in the woods, and the water rushing over rocks sounded equally impressive. The bone-breaking, flesh-tearing world of Doom came through in all of its visceral glory. Not every game sounded quite as good with SBX though. In Destiny 2, for example, it tended to make everything sound too soft and distant. This could be mitigated some by adjusting the surround sound setting, but it still didn't sound quite as good to me as Windows Sonic or Dolby Atmos, which, good news, the G6 works fine with. The G6 also comes with Creative Scout Mode, which is supposed to boost certain frequencies to highlight things like weapon mechanics or reloads and footsteps and things of that nature. It's similar in concept to Turtle Beach's Superhuman Hearing Mode, but it's not as extreme, it seems, in its implementation, or at the very least it's smarter in which sounds it boosts. And for the most part the sound signature doesn't change much, and the biggest thing that it seems to do is just make everything louder overall. Overall, I think it does what it's supposed to do, but it's not too extreme and doesn't kill the overall sound quality. Direct mode disables all of the other audio effects and enhancements and aims to provide the purest playback of the content you're listening to. I tested its high-res chops out with Tidal, and I have to say I was very impressed with its performance on master quality tracks. The SteelSeries Arctis Pro really shine in this area, and everything sounded clear and full. The GameOne was no slouch either, and has a flatter sound signature by design, but I preferred the sound of the Arctis Pro. Microphone performance is a bit of a mixed bag. The G6 is great at canceling out background noise, so much so that even with the GameOne turned up all the way with its open back design, it still won't retransmit game or chat volume coming through, but it still picks up my voice clearly without any choppiness, which is good. The downside is it compresses the sound, which hurts the overall clarity, but I do appreciate that I was able to use all the microphones that I tested without having to use push to talk and not worry about background noise. Another disappointment with microphone performance is the side tone. It doesn't monitor instantaneously, so there is a noticeable lag when you're talking, which, in my opinion, makes pretty much useless. Lastly, I do want to point out that the G6 does not have any sort of game chat balance. Okay, now for a couple of microphone tests just to show the difference between the microphones on their own as opposed to being plugged into the G6. This is the Sennheiser GameOne plugged directly into my motherboard without any microphone enhancements or settings activated. And this is the Sennheiser GameOne plugged into the G6. You can tell that there's more compression going on. For game chat, yeah, I don't think it's a big deal. I think it still sounds really good, but it wouldn't be as good if you wanted to use it for podcasting or something like that. This is the SteelSeries Arctis Pro through its USB controller plugged directly into my motherboard. And this is the Arctis Pro through the G6. Again, there's more compression. It's still perfectly acceptable for gaming, but not as clear if you wanted to do other voiceover work with it. I've seen complaints about Sound Blaster Connect, which is creative software for the G6. I haven't had any issues with it, and it downloaded and installed properly on the first go, and my system didn't have any issues recognizing the G6. It feels a little disorganized and cluttered at times, and I prefer the look of, say, SteelSeries Engine, but it is easy enough to navigate around. It comes with a bunch of different pre-made EQ settings for different games, and there's a fair amount of control for creating custom EQs, to include an ability to draw a general line of what you want your EQ to look like. The heart of the audio settings is in SBX, where you can widen the sound of the surround setting. There's a crystallizer setting, bass boost, dialogue boost, and a few other little things you can tweak. I really like the crystallizer setting, as it just seems to add life and clarity to a lot of content. And for gaming, I've found the surround sound setting and crystallizer at about halfway each sounded good for the majority of the games that I've played. I'm a little disappointed with the relatively few microphone settings in the software. You can basically increase your overall transmission volume and side tone, and you can add morphing effects to change how you sound, such as an orc or an elf or robot, what have you. I would have liked for an adjustable noise gate and other more meaningful settings to get exactly the sound I want out of the microphone. Sound Blaster Connect also has a few different settings you can change for the RGB light on the G6, and you're able to change things such as 5.1 or 7.1 virtual surround sound, external speaker settings, and stream mix settings. So all in all, the software is good enough for me, but there is room for improvement in the future. I do want to reiterate that the G6 works with the PC as well as all current generation consoles. If you're a PlayStation user, you will get native chat functionality. Xbox One and Switch users can get audio through an optical connection. However, with the Xbox One, you still can get chat functionality if you use a PC that has the Xbox app on it. Now, this isn't the most convenient, and depending on if you have a PC or depending on what type of PC you have, it certainly limits where you can set this up at. But if you're the type that plays Xbox at a desk and you have a PC, then you're good to go. I have seen complaints that the EQ settings, whether it be pre-built or custom EQ profiles you save, don't transfer to console from PC. I tested this out for myself and everything worked like it should. Overall, the G6 provides some great game and music audio performance with average software and microphone quality. I would like Creative to add game chat balance and real-time mic monitoring and expand the microphone settings in the future, either through Sound Blaster Connect firmware or on whatever replaces the G6. So do you need a sound card like the G6? Well, no. Take the GameOne for example. It has great sound out of the box, either directly into the motherboard or an Xbox controller. But the G6 can take a great sounding headset like the GameOne and make it exceptional. If you're serious about your audio, then the $150 price tag of the G6 is absolutely worth it. If you think about headsets that come with a dedicated DAC or amp or DAC amp combo, you're already looking at $250. Depending on the headset that you pair with the G6, it won't break the bank, and will make for a better audio experience. Even with the hassle on Xbox One to have to do party chat through PC, I still think it's totally worth it to get audio of this quality. In the future, I do hope to do some additional testing with higher impedance headphones to really push the G6 further. If you don't think that the G6 is going to have enough performance for you, Creative's coming out with the AE-9, which is an internal card geared towards audiophiles that has a separate breakout box that can hook up XLR microphones and all that fun stuff. I do want to test that out, so Creative Ryan, if you're watching this, I'd love a review model. Other than that, thanks for watching. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.